My name is Joyce Romano, and I'm 32 years old. If you'd asked me a month ago what my life looked like, I'd have told you it was perfect, or close enough to fool anyone looking from the outside. I was engaged to a man everyone called too good to be true, Orlando Cole. 30, charming, thoughtful, in that quiet way that makes you trust him without trying. We were supposed to get married in 3 months, September 15th. Everything was booked: the venue, the photographer, the flowers, even the string quartet my mom insisted on. For years, I thought I'd finally won at love. I used to joke that Orlando was the calm to my chaos. Now I realize he was just the silence before the storm. It started small. A few months back, Orlando began staying late at work, scrolling through his phone more often, smiling at something unseen. When I'd ask, he'd brush it off. Just catching up with old friends, babe. He mentioned one name more than once, Maya, his ex from college. I remember the first time he said it casually. Oh, Maya got a promotion. Good for her. My stomach twisted a little, but I didn't say anything. People stay in touch with their exes, right? That's what I told myself. But the truth. Sometimes your gut whispers before your heart catches up, and mine had been whispering for weeks. It was a Thursday night when the truth stopped whispering and started screaming. Orlando said he was going out with his coworkers some casual bar downtown to celebrate a project completion. He kissed my forehead, promised he'd be home by midnight, and left smelling faintly of cedarwood and confidence. I stayed home, folded laundry, half-watched a Netflix show, and eventually fell asleep on the couch. At 1:17 a.m., my phone buzzed nonstop notifications from Instagram. I rubbed my eyes, still groggy, and opened the app. The first photo was innocent Orlando, and a few friends' beers in hand, smiles too wide. The second was louder lights, music, people laughing, faces blurred in motion. And then the third, my heart dropped into a silence so heavy I could hear my own pulse. There he was. Orlando sitting on a low leather couch, Maya on his lap. Her head tilted back, laughing, one arm draped around his neck, his hand on her thigh like it belonged there. The caption read, "Sometimes you miss the old days." At first, I thought my brain was playing tricks on me. I zoomed in, blinked, stared again. It didn't change. Nothing did. There were already 50 likes, comments pouring in. Aw, you two, OMG, this is adorable. Old flames never die. My fingers went cold around my phone. My fiancé, the man whose tuxedo fitting I'd confirmed 2 days ago, was sitting on his ex lap, smiling like he never left her, and the internet was cheering them on. I didn't cry. I just froze. Because in that moment, it felt like the whole world had seen something I wasn't meant to, like I was the last to find out about my own life. When Orlando came home at 2:43 a.m., I was sitting in the dark at the kitchen table, the blue light of my phone casting ghostly shadows across my face. He stumbled in quietly like a man returning from war, careful, hesitant, trying not to wake the guilt. "Hey, you're up," he said. "Yeah," I answered. My voice was calm, too calm. "I saw your post." He blinked. "What post?" I turned the phone around the screen, glowing with that picture. His expression faltered for half a second before he forced a laugh. "Oh, that Maya posted it, not me. It's just nostalgia, you know." "A joke." "A joke." My words were soft but sharp. "You're sitting on her couch. She's sitting on your lap. You're both smiling like newlyweds. What's funny about that?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "You're overreacting, Joyce. It was innocent. You know how people are online, dramatic captions, no context. It doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything," I repeated quietly. "Right. Just like all those coincidences lately, running into her at the gym, the coffee shop, the company mixer." "Joyce, please," he interrupted, irritation flashing across his face. "She's just a friend. You're being paranoid." The word paranoid hit harder than I expected. It's the kind of word meant to make you doubt yourself. And I did, for months. But not tonight. "I'm not paranoid," I said slowly. "I'm awake." He stared at me for a long moment before muttering, "I'm going to bed. We can talk when you're calmer." He brushed past me. I could still smell Maya's perfume on his jacket. I sat there long after he'd gone upstairs, staring at my reflection in the black surface of my phone screen. My engagement ring glittered faintly under the kitchen light, 1.5 carats of promises I no longer believed in. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just hums inside you, steady, sharp, alive. I wasn't angry yet, just numb. I kept thinking about the caption. "Sometimes you miss the old days." Did he? Did he miss her laugh, her touch, her world, the one that didn't include me? The comments kept piling up, strangers feeding on a story they didn't know. And for the first time in years, I felt small. Smaller than the screen, smaller than my own love. By sunrise, I hadn't slept a minute. I brewed coffee I couldn't drink and watched Orlando's phone light up with notifications. He didn't even bother to hide them. Somewhere between the third and fourth ping, something in me snapped quietly, elegantly. Not like glass shattering, but like silk tearing, soundless final. I realized love doesn't die with betrayal. It suffocates under indifference. And that morning, watching him pretend nothing had happened, I made a silent promise if he wanted to show the world a story, I'd show them the ending. When Orlando came downstairs, bleary-eyed and defensive, I looked him straight in the eye. "Don't worry," I said calmly. "You don't have to explain. I already understand everything I need to." He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, slipping the engagement ring off my finger, "you just became someone else's nostalgia." He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. I placed the ring on the counter, turned, and walked away. As I closed the door behind me, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, the same woman, but different eyes. Eyes that had stopped waiting for explanations. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the heartbreak, a spark flickered. The quiet, dangerous kind of strength that only comes after the truth finally burns everything else down. The morning after the photo felt unreal, like I'd woken up inside someone else's life. Orlando was still asleep upstairs, his soft breathing echoing through a house that suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too staged. I sat on the edge of the couch, my coffee gone cold hours ago, scrolling through the photo again. It was still there. The comments, the hearts, the captions, all frozen in digital time. The world already knew what I was still trying to process, and that made it worse. By noon, Orlando came downstairs, rubbing his eyes like a man nursing a hangover he didn't earn. He looked at me, tentative, testing the air before he spoke. "Morning." I didn't answer. My silence was deliberate, heavy. He sighed. "You're still mad." I looked up slowly. "You think I'm mad?" My tone was soft, dangerously soft. "You humiliated me in front of 1,000 people, Orlando. I'm not mad, I'm processing." He frowned, leaning on the counter. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It was just a stupid picture. Maya was being playful." "That's it." "Playful," I repeated, almost laughing. "She was sitting on your lap, Orlando." So, his voice rose slightly. "We dated years ago. It's not like that anymore. You know that. You're acting like I kissed her or something." "Do you need it to be physical for it to be betrayal?" I asked quietly. That silenced him for a beat. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, retreating behind that mask of tired indifference I'd grown to hate. We ate breakfast in silence. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, it's sharp, full of unsaid words pressing against your ribs. Every clink of a spoon felt like a scream trying to escape. Finally, I said, "You've been distant for months, always somewhere else, always on your phone. You say you're reconnecting with friends, but somehow Maya keeps showing up at your gym, your office, happy hours, even your damn coffee shop. What are the odds?" He put his fork down slowly. "It's a small city, Joyce. Things overlap. You're reading too much into it." I studied him, the way he avoided my eyes, the tiny twitch in his jaw when he lied. "You're good at that," I murmured. "At what?" "Lying like you believe yourself." He scoffed, grabbed his keys, and stood up. "I can't do this right now. I have a meeting." I tilted my head. "You always do." He hesitated, maybe realizing that no meeting could hide him this time, then left without another word. The sound of the door slamming echoed like punctuation on a sentence I didn't want to finish. That afternoon, I went for a walk. No destination, just movement. The city looked different, somehow grayer, even though the sun was out. Every couple holding hands on the street felt like a tiny stab. I hated that love could look so effortless when mine had started to rot quietly months ago. At a shop window, I caught my reflection. Messy hair, puffy eyes, engagement ring still on my finger. For a moment, I wanted to rip it off and fling it into traffic. But I didn't. Not yet. Because deep down, I knew something. When love dies, you don't bury it immediately. You keep staring at it, waiting for it to breathe again. When I came home that evening, Orlando was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. His voice softened when he saw me. "Hey, look, maybe I was insensitive. I'm sorry." "Okay." "You know how social media twists everything." His tone, calm, patronizing, made me clench my fists. "You're not sorry for what you did," I said. "You're sorry because people saw it." "That's not fair." "Fair," I almost laughed. "You want fair would have been you remembering that you're engaged before you sat on your ex's lap." He rolled his eyes. You're so dramatic sometimes, Joyce. You twist things to make yourself the victim. There it was, the gaslight, the subtle, cruel little twist of words that made me question my own sanity for months. I took a slow breath. If I'm dramatic, it's because you keep giving me scenes worth performing. He stared at me frustrated, like he didn't know how to argue with calmness. I can't talk to you when you're like this, he said finally. I'll be at my brother's place tonight. Of course you will, I replied. Say hi to Maya if she's there. His jaw tightened, but he didn't answer, just grabbed his jacket and left. The door closed again, softer this time, almost ashamed. I stood there for a long while, the quiet swallowing me whole. The apartment was full of our photos, vacations, birthdays, little smiles captured in better times. It all felt fake now, like a movie set built around a love story that had already ended off screen. I walked over to the fridge and took down one of the Polaroids, US laughing on the beach, his arms around me. I stared at it until my vision blurred, then tore it cleanly in half. Goodbye, I whispered. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the ring still on my nightstand. The air was thick with memories that refused to die quietly. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who defended him to her friends, who brushed off red flags as insecurity, who believed trust meant never questioning. And I realized something that hurt more than the betrayal itself. He hadn't broken my heart. He'd trained me to doubt my own perception. That was the real cruelty, not the photo, not the lies, but the quiet erosion of my confidence. At dawn, I got up, made coffee again, and sat by the window. The city was waking up, unaware that mine had fallen apart. For the first time, I didn't cry. There's a strange calm that comes after devastation when you finally run out of tears. It's not healing. It's not forgiveness. It's something in between, a kind of stillness before the storm of clarity. As I looked down at my phone, the photo notification pinged again. Maya had posted another picture, a close-up of a glass of wine, the caption, "Unfinished business, tastes sweet." My lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. All right, I whispered to myself, let's finish it then. The next morning, I woke up feeling different, not lighter, not happier, but sharper, like grief had burned everything unnecessary away and left only clarity behind. Orlando hadn't come home. His toothbrush was still in the holder, his cologne still on the dresser, but his presence was gone like a ghost that had finally stopped pretending it belonged among the living. I made myself coffee and stared at the engagement ring lying on the counter. It sparkled like it had secrets. The same ring that once symbolized love now looked like evidence, a beautiful, glittering piece of proof that I'd been fooled. I picked it up, held it to the light. 1.5 carats of everything I thought I knew. And then I decided if he wanted to embarrass me in public, I'd answer in public too. Not out of spite, but out of truth. Because silence only protects the liar. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and set the ring against a dark velvet scarf. It looked expensive, almost arrogant. Perfect. I opened Facebook Marketplace and started typing. 14K white gold engagement ring with 1.5 carat solitaire diamond. Excellent condition. Comes with appraisal certificate. Engagement off. Ring for sale. Comes with too many lies. I hesitated for half a second the way you do before jumping off a cliff, then hit post. It went live at 9:27 a.m. The captions spread like wildfire. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with messages. Is this real, girl? Are you okay? You're my hero for this. My best friend Lila called first. Joyce, what the hell did you do? Finally told the truth, I said simply. She was quiet for a second. Then she laughed that deep, knowing laugh only a friend who's seen your heartbreak up close can manage. I love you. But you know this is going to explode, right? I'm counting on it. By noon, the post had over 500 shares. Strangers were commenting, debating whether I was savage or heartbroken or both. A few even asked for the price seriously. One woman wrote, I'll take it if it's still available. My daughter's getting married next month. But the message that caught my eye was from an account I didn't recognize, Ricky Cross. Hey, sorry to bother you, but is the Orlando in your post Orlando Cole from Westbridge Tech? Because if it is, his ex, Maya, is married. Thought you should know. I stared at the message, my pulse suddenly loud in my ears. Married. I clicked on his profile public. There it was, a photo of him and a woman captioned, My sister Maya and me at her wedding last year. Everything blurred for a moment. Maya wasn't just an ex, she was someone's wife. Which meant Orlando hadn't just been flirting with nostalgia, he'd been walking into another woman's marriage while still promising me forever. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding, but then I laughed. It wasn't hysterical, not even bitter. Just a small, exhausted laugh of recognition. Because of course there was more. When men like Orlando lie, they never stop at one truth. By 3 p.m., Orlando finally texted me. Orlando, take the post down, now. Me. Why is it bad for your image? Orlando. You're making a scene. Everyone's seeing this. My mom just called. Me. Good. She raised a man who sits on married women's laps. Orlando. That's not true. Maya and her husband are separated. Me. You sure? Because her brother doesn't seem to know that. There was a pause, then no reply. Half an hour later, my phone rang. The caller ID made me blink Mrs. Cole. I picked up slowly. Joyce. Her voice trembled between anger and embarrassment. What are you thinking? Posting private matters on the internet. What private matters? I asked evenly. Your son's photo with a married woman, or the fact that he lied to me about it. Orlando made a mistake, she snapped. You don't have to ruin his reputation over one stupid photo. I smiled faintly. I'm not ruining anything, Mrs. Cole. I'm just letting the truth have better lighting. She went quiet, then she hung up. By evening, it was all over social media. Engagement offering for sale became a local headline. People tagged their friends, arguing about who was right. Some called me petty. Others said I was iconic. But the ones that mattered most were from women strangers who wrote things like, You just helped me walk away from my own Orlando. Thank you for reminding me silence isn't strength. I didn't reply, but I read every one, because that night, for the first time, I didn't feel weak or humiliated. I felt understood. At 10 p.m., Lila came over with takeout and a bottle of cheap champagne. We sat on the floor, laughing between bites. You realize, she said, raising her glass, you've basically become an urban legend. The woman who sold her ring and her silence in the same day. I clinked my glass to hers. Good. Maybe legends don't cry themselves to sleep. We drank. For the first time in weeks, I laughed until my stomach hurt. But later that night, when the laughter faded and Lila went home, I sat alone again, scrolling through Orlando's messages, his photos, our plans, that now felt like someone else's dreams. I thought about deleting it all, but I didn't. Not yet. Because some memories aren't meant to be erased. They're meant to be studied reminders of who you'll never be again. Just before midnight, my phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from an unknown number. You should be careful who you trust, Joyce. Not everyone wants to help you. No name, no profile, just those words. I stared at it uneasy. The air in the room felt colder somehow. And for the first time since this began, I wondered maybe Orlando wasn't the only one with something to hide. By sunrise, the entire city seemed to know my name. My post had gone from viral gossip to full-blown internet spectacle. Strangers debated my life over coffee, while people who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly checked in. Some were supportive. You're brave, Joyce. Some, judgmental. Air your laundry privately next time. And then buried in between one comment that chilled me. He did the same thing to my cousin 2 years ago. Walk away, girl. He'll never change. That was when I realized I hadn't just exposed a moment. I'd cracked open a pattern. It was 9 a.m. when Orlando finally showed up. He didn't knock. He stormed in. His face was pale, jaw tight, eyes wide, like a man running from fire. What the hell did you do? He hissed, slamming his phone onto the table. I didn't flinch. Told the truth. Truth. He scoffed. You humiliated me, Joyce. Do you have any idea what people are saying? My coworkers saw it, my family. Your family should be thanking me. I cut in voice, calm, steady. They almost welcomed a liar into their house. You're insane, he snapped. This is vindictive. You could have just broken up with me quietly. Oh, like how you quietly sat on your married ex lap. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His anger cracked for just a moment, and behind it, guilt. I took a slow breath, leaning forward. You know what the difference between you and me is, Orlando? I don't lie to make myself look good. He exhaled hard through his nose, pacing. You don't understand. Maya's going through something. Her husband's... I interrupted again, sharply this time. Married. She's married Orlando. And you're telling me she's going through something? What exactly are you trying to fix? Her loneliness or your ego? He froze. That one hit home. Then he grabbed his phone. You think you're so clever you made a joke out of both of us. You've destroyed everything. Good, I said. Now there's nothing left to lie about. He stared at me, eyes dark, searching for the woman who used to forgive him. She wasn't there anymore. By noon, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was firm but trembling. Joyce, are you sure this is the path you want to take? Yes, I said simply. She sighed. I don't want you to get hurt even more. People can be cruel online. I've already been humiliated publicly once, I replied. This time I'm in control of the story. There was a pause. Then her voice softened. Then hold your head high, sweetheart, because they're all watching now. By 2 p.m., the story hit the local news. A friend sent me the link. Viral post woman lists engagement ring online after fiancé's photo with ex. The video thumbnail showed a blurred image of me from an old work event next to Orlando's smiling face. The caption beneath it read, "When betrayal meets social media, everyone has an opinion." They read my post on air. The anchor even chuckled, repeating my caption. "Engagement off, ring for sale. Comes with too many lies." Then she smiled and said, well, she certainly made her point. The clip was shared thousands of times before dinner. That evening, the phone rang again. This time, an unknown number. Joyce Romano, the voice asked. "Yes, this is Mark Callahan from Channel 7. We're doing a segment on viral breakup stories. Would you be interested in an interview?" I hesitated. "I'm not sure I want to make this more public than it already is." He chuckled. "It's already public, Ms. Romano. You might as well own the narrative." I thought about it, about all the people making up their own version of my life, my heartbreak, my reasons. Owning the narrative suddenly didn't sound so bad. "Fine," I said, "let's talk." The next day, the interview aired. I didn't cry or yell. I just spoke clearly about betrayal, about boundaries, about how women are always told to handle things privately, even when they're the ones wronged publicly. Clips of me speaking went viral. Comments flooded in. She handled it with class. Finally, someone said it. Protect this woman at all costs. And somewhere buried deep in the comment threads, another account appeared. "You think you know everything, Joyce. You don't know what Orlando's really hiding." No name, no photo, just that. It unnerved me more than I wanted to admit. Later that evening, I got a message from Maya's husband. I didn't recognize the name at first, Liam Bennett. "Hi, Joyce. You don't know me, but I'm Maya's husband. I saw your story." She told me it was innocent, but I checked her phone. There were messages. Months of them. Late-night calls. Plans. I thought you deserved to know. Attached were screenshots. Orlando's name, the same tone I'd known so well. "You make me feel alive again. I can't stop thinking about you. Don't tell Joyce. She's been suspicious lately." Each word burned like acid down my throat. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just sat there numb, reading proof of everything I'd already felt but hadn't wanted to believe. When Orlando came over again that night, probably to explain himself, I was ready. He walked in mid-sentence, already defensive. Joyce listened. Things got blown way out of... I held up my phone, showing him the screenshots. He froze. The color drained from his face. This isn't what it looks like," he stammered. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. My voice didn't shake. "You weren't missing the old days, Orlando. You were trying to rewrite them." He looked around desperate. "We can fix this, please. We were good, Joyce. We were nothing," I interrupted. "You were pretending, and I was believing. That's not love. That's theater." His shoulders slumped. I made a mistake. "No," I said. "You made a choice." That was the last time I saw him. He left quietly without another word. By the next morning, he'd deleted his social media, and the internet had moved on to another scandal. But for me, the quiet after the storm wasn't peace. It was something heavier. Because when the noise fades, that's when you finally hear the truth you've been avoiding. And mine was simple. I'd been loving a man who didn't exist, at least not the version he showed me. That night, I took the ring out one last time, turned it in my palm, studying the light bouncing off the diamond. A symbol of promises never kept. Then I tucked it back in its box and sent a message to the woman who'd inquired earlier. "Hi, this is Joyce. The ring's still available if you're still interested." She replied immediately. "Yes, my daughter's getting engaged. Can I meet you tomorrow morning?" "Perfect," I whispered, setting the phone down. Because I was finally ready to let it go, the ring, the story, the pain. All of it. The next morning, the city felt strangely calm, like it was holding its breath after a storm. I woke up early, made coffee, and opened the curtains. The sunlight spilled into the apartment soft and warm, touching everything that used to remind me of him. The wine glasses from our engagement toast, the framed photo of us in Santorini, even the half-finished puzzle we never completed. For the first time, I didn't feel pain when I looked at them, just distance, as if those memories belonged to someone else. At 10 a.m., I met the buyer at a coffee shop downtown. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes approached me, smiling nervously. "Joyce." "Yes," I said. She sat down and placed an envelope on the table. 9,500 as we agreed. I handed her the velvet box. Take good care of it. It's been through enough. She opened it and gasped softly. It's beautiful. My daughter's going to love it. I smiled faintly. Good. It deserves a better story than mine. The woman reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Honey, I don't know the details, but you did the right thing. Some lessons are expensive, but they buy freedom. Her words lingered long after she left. When I got home, I took one last look at the empty spot where the ring used to sit on my dresser. It felt symbolic. The absence itself was cleaner than the presence had ever been. I didn't check social media that day. I didn't want to. But my phone buzzed anyway. A new email. From Orlando Cole, subject, I'm sorry. For a long time, I just stared at it. I could have deleted it unread. But curiosity, that old weakness, won. I clicked it open. Joyce. I know you don't owe me anything. You probably hate me. You should. But I need to say this. I wasn't honest with you, not about Maya, not about how confused I was. I thought I wanted closure. I thought I needed to prove something to myself. But I hurt you instead. You didn't deserve that. She and I are done for good. Her marriage fell apart. I've lost everything that mattered because I couldn't stop chasing ghosts. You were the real thing, Joyce. I just didn't know how to be real with you. I hope someday you'll forgive me, even if we never speak again. Orlando. I read it once, then again, and then quietly I smiled. Forgiveness wasn't the same as forgetting. It wasn't even acceptance. It was just the moment you realized you no longer cared enough to hate. I deleted the email without replying. A week later, Maya's story broke. Someone, probably her husband, leaked screenshots of her messages with Orlando to a gossip blog. The internet that once adored her turned vicious. Comments flooded in. So she was the married one. Imagine wrecking two relationships for nostalgia. Maya disappeared from social media overnight. Orlando too. The noise that had filled my life for weeks suddenly vanished, leaving behind only silence, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was peace. I started running again, cooking for one, sleeping through the night. Small things. I even laughed real laughter when Lila called to tell me a meme had gone viral. When he says it was just a photo, sell the ring and your silence. I didn't mind. If humor was how people remembered me, so be it. I'd spent enough time being tragic. One afternoon, while sorting old boxes, I found our wedding invitations, cream paper gold lettering. My name next to his still intertwined like it meant something. I stood for a moment, then took a lighter from the drawer. Flame met paper, and the edges curled. The ink bled into smoke, soft and gray. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It was closure. A few months later, I bumped into the woman who'd bought the ring. She recognized me instantly. Oh, Joyce, you won't believe it. My daughter just got engaged last week. Same ring, same sparkle. She said yes, under a maple tree in autumn. That's wonderful, I said. And I meant it. She smiled. I told her this ring already has a story, one that ended, so hers could begin. I walked away that day, feeling something I hadn't felt in months light. Like I'd finally stepped out of someone else's shadow. It's been 6 months now. I don't think about Orlando much anymore. Sometimes when a memory sneaks in, it's softer, like a movie I've already watched too many times. People still ask if I regret posting that listing, and I tell them the truth. No, because sometimes silence protects the wrong person, and sometimes the only way to heal is to make the truth loud enough that even your pain can hear it. One night, sitting on my balcony, I wrote in my journal. He wanted to relive the past. I wanted to build a future. We were never on the same timeline. I closed the book, took a deep breath, and watched the city lights flicker below. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had something better, peace earned the hard way. And if you ask me now what that ring was really worth, I'd say $9,500 and the rest of my life back. It's funny how quiet life becomes after chaos ends. At first I thought silence would be unbearable, that without the constant noise of messages, notifications, or apologies, I'd feel empty. But silence, it turns out, isn't emptiness. It's clarity. 6 months ago, I woke up every day to uncertainty, checking my phone for proof of love or evidence of betrayal. Now I wake up to sunlight sneaking through my curtains, to coffee that doesn't go cold, to peace that doesn't need validation. I still wear the small gold bracelet my mom gave me on my 28th birthday. She once told me, when people show you who they are, don't ask for subtitles. Back then I thought she was being cynical. Now I think she was just honest before I was ready to hear it. I walk every morning past the cafe where Orlando and I used to meet. The barista still remembers my order: oat milk latte, extra cinnamon. The first few weeks she'd glance at the door expecting to see him walk in behind me. Now she doesn't. Neither do I. Funny thing about heartbreak, it doesn't vanish. It just softens until it becomes background noise. A reminder, not a wound. Sometimes people recognize me from the story. They smile awkwardly, like they're not sure if they should say something. Once a woman stopped me outside the bookstore. She looked nervous, then whispered, "Your story helped me leave my fiancé. I saw myself in you." I didn't know what to say, so I just hugged her, because I knew exactly what that kind of freedom costs and how worth it is. A while ago, someone on social media wrote, "She got revenge by going viral." They're wrong. That was never revenge. Revenge is loud, ugly, and temporary. Peace, real peace, is quiet, beautiful, and permanent. What I did wasn't about humiliating Orlando. It was about reclaiming my story before someone else rewrote it for me. Sometimes late at night, I think about the photo, the one that started it all. Orlando and Maya laughing, her hand on his chest, that smug caption. Sometimes you miss the old days. I don't hate that photo anymore. In a strange way, I'm grateful for it, because it ended something that needed to end. And it began something better, a version of me who finally learned the difference between being loved and being chosen. Now, when people ask what happened, I just smile and say, I sold the ring and bought peace. They laugh, thinking it's a metaphor. But to me, it's literal truth. I sold a promise that wasn't real, and in return, I bought my silence back. Not the silence of weakness, but of strength. The kind that doesn't need to explain itself anymore. If you're watching this and wondering whether it's worth it to walk away, it is. I know it's terrifying. I know the nights feel endless. But one morning you'll wake up, pour your coffee, and realize you didn't think about them once. That's when you'll know you made it. Because healing isn't fireworks or fanfare. It's that quiet moment when you finally stop needing closure because you already closed the door yourself. They say revenge is sweet, but peace is quieter, cleaner, and lasts longer. I don't miss the old days anymore. I don't need to. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had to choose truth over comfort or peace over someone you loved, tell me in the comments. And remember to subscribe because every ending deserves to be heard, especially the quiet ones.